Hi everybody, welcome to our event today, the third in a series of events that we have hosted in collaboration with our friends and colleagues in the ANCOS Consortium and with Bentham Science Publishers. Today, we're talking about how to easily write an effective paper, and we're going to give you a bit of an introduction also to Bentham Science Publishers. If that's of interest, I hope that you can hear me. I hope that you can, everything's coming across loud and clear in the communication in this session today. Let's get started. I'm Gareth. I worked in Ireland for a number of years. I worked in the University of Southampton in the UK. I'm based in Hungary. I've been a journal editor for many years. I'm also a freelance editor and journal manager. So we're going to talk today a little bit about what goes on in the process of writing and publishing academic papers. We're going to talk a little bit about Bentham Science, major publisher of ebooks, major publisher of traditional and open access journals. We're going to talk about the basic structure of academic papers, and we're going to take a deep dive into the different parts of academic paper writing. And you might be asking, what's the point of all of this? Well, the point of all of this is so that we can help you to be more effective as academics, writing and publishing your own academic papers. Now, Bentham Science, major international publisher of journals and ebooks. You can jump on over to the Bentham site at eurekaselect.net. I'll just put that there in the chat box for you. If you fancy doing that, you'll be able to get access to the Bentham content. You can go and see what kinds of journals, what kinds of content Bentham are publishing. Major international publisher of journals and ebooks. You can go in, you can browse the site, you can sort by subject, you can look at different journals, you can go and see what kinds of content could be valuable for you or for your institution within all of that content. So that's what we're going to be talking about in our presentation today. We'll jump over this slide. It's not so interesting, just some screenshots again of the eurekaselect.net website where you can access, where you can get to see all of the Bentham content. So let's get involved in thinking about writing an academic paper and preparing it for publication in a major international journal. Well, maybe you've seen this slide before, maybe you haven't, but this slide is the most important slide that I will show you in this presentation today. Why is that? This slide summarizes the general structure of a full academic article, and it shows you that an academic article has two distinct sections. I don't mind what your subject area is. I don't mind what your research area is. Your title and your abstract and your keywords are one section of your academic paper, while the rest of the text, the rest of the paper is the rest of the article, the main text. Two different sections. That's important to keep in mind because the title, the abstract, and the keywords do something different to the remainder of the article body. And lots of authors are unaware of that. Lots of authors forget about that. Lots of authors don't put the effort and energy into their title, into their abstract, and into their keywords that they should do, because these sections, very important, because these are the sections that we use, that search engines use to find your papers. So if you want to be found by other international colleagues, if you want people to be able to find and download your excellent academic work, you need an effective title. You need a well-written abstract, and you need some keywords that will make your paper easier to index and easier to search. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I would say above all, the most important thing to keep in mind is that you have to write. You are going to write for publication in an international journal, an article that is well structured, effective titles, great abstracts, and well considered keywords are key initially to getting your paper into those international journals. So let's think about preparing to write. What goes into a good title? A good title, an effective academic article title, should contain the fewest possible words to adequately describe the contents of your paper. So keep it short. Research has shown that some of the best and most highly cited papers have shorter titles. And indeed, I've seen work that shows that titles less than 7 words in length tend to get more highly cited in academic literature. So keep your title short. What's the main issue of your study? What's the subject of the paper? Be accurate, unambiguous, specific, and complete. No infrequently used abbreviations, and above all, attract people's attention with your title. It should be compelling, concise, and informative. Make people want to read your article. Make people think, ooh, that's an interesting paper. I want to read more. I want to learn more about this topic. Entice people. Don't give away the punchline. That's called a declarative title. You want an interrogative title, ask a question with your title, or a non-declarative title where you don't tell the reader what the answer to the question is. So they are going to read more. They're going to get into the paper and they're going to read more. So main issue, the subject, accurate, unambiguous, specific, and complete. Don't get infrequently used abbreviations there into the title, and make sure you include keywords in the title that are different to the keywords that you're going to use in your keywords section. Different words. Why is that? Well, search engines use titles and keywords to discover papers online. If you use the same words in the keywords as you've already used in the title, you are wasting a keyword. Different words in the keywords to the words in the title. Here are some examples of highly cited papers from the medical literature from 2019. These papers got lots of citations because they're interesting. Alcohol use and burden, a systematic analysis. Association between physical exercise and mental health. These titles also have another characteristic feature that lots of English academic writers use to break up the information, a colon in the title. That's also a trick that you can use. You can say something general, then something specific, or something specific, and then something general. But often people use this trick in their writing also to make their titles effective and interesting. You can see it done here, something general, colon, and then what was the study, or something specific, colon, what's the database, what's the source for the analysis, a systematic analysis for the global burden of disease study 2016. Here's a few examples of highly cited papers that were recently published by Bentham Science. Lots of articles in there. One of the big advantages of this publisher, by the way, is that the article processing charges for the open access journals are relatively low. Many of the traditional journals that Bentham publishes have great impact factors. So I do encourage you to have a look at the contents that is available on that eurekaselect.net website that I shared with you in the chat just now. Here's a title from some of my own work. It's about birds. It's about feathers. We are editing. We are arguing. We're talking to each other as colleagues within our research group to find the best title that we all agree on that will sell our work most effectively to a journal. Lots of academics don't put much time and effort into this. They just come up with a title. They don't think about it in any great detail. That's a mistake. As I mentioned, one of the key tricks to get your work published in leading international journals is an effective, alluring, attractive title that contains different words to the words that you put into the keywords when you make that submission. Here's the actual paper. You can see that it was published in Functional Ecology back in 2017. So titles, if you'd like some more information, by the way, about academic article writing, if we can provide more training, if you find this webinar series this week to have been of interest and you'd like more for your university, for your library, for your students, for your research group, don't hesitate to get in touch with our friends at Easy Solutions, or get in touch with me directly. I'll give you my email at the end of this presentation. We are always happy to give presentations, do webinars, provide training. We don't charge anything for it. What about the next bit of the writing process? Let's jump in. Let's have a look at your abstract. Very important piece of writing, 200 words, 300 words in length, short in length, but it has to contain all of the information necessary for a reader to understand what you did in a study. It's your advertisement. It's about marketing your work to a journal, all of the information necessary for somebody else to be able to repeat the study. The quality of your abstract will inform your editor's decision. So put some time and effort into this. Lots of authors don't. They write the abstract at the end of the process, which they should, but in a rush. Honest and precise, got to stand alone, no technical jargon, short and specific. Very few journals want you to cite references in the abstract. It's important, 200 or 300 words. Always imagine that you are writing your article abstract for publication at a conference. Always imagine that that's all that somebody else is ever going to read about your study. Why? Because it often is all that anybody else reads of your study. Editors, peer reviewers, people who download your paper, often many of them won't read more than just the abstract. Ask yourself, when was the last time you read the whole of an academic paper? Most people don't. They just read the abstract. And so many journals will base their decision on your abstract alone. Many authors write their abstract in a great rush, almost as an afterthought. And this has to be a concise, standalone piece of writing with a very clear message, accurately reflecting the full text of your paper. So have a think about this for a moment. What are you going to put into your abstract? It's easy to write an effective abstract if you do it using our very simple technique that is called the 4-question technique. Write down the 4 questions at the bottom of this slide and then answer them with information relevant to your own work, to your own study. Why did you do the study? What did you do? What did you find? And what did you conclude? Why did you do it? Answer that. What did you do? That's the methods. Answer that. What did you find? 1 or 2 sentences. What did you conclude? 1 or 2 sentences for each of the 4 questions. You will end up with 100 or 150 words that you can edit into your full abstract in that sequence, in that structure. By the way, many journals out there in the world ask you anyway to create what's called a structured abstract. You can see an example of one here. Very common in the medical sciences, chemical sciences, biological sciences. Journals often want you to make a structure with your abstract, break out the different sections, as you can see here. We're doing that anyway. I recommend that you write a structured abstract using the 4-question based technique anyway. You can always just delete the structure later, run the text together. You will end up with those words that you need to build out the editing. It'll be about 150 words. That's what you want. You're getting there in that particular sequence to write a great and effective abstract. And so if you go to high impact factor journals in your field, or look at articles that you consider to be well written, well structured and informative in your field, you will be able to break out that structure with a colored pencil or with some marker pens. You'll find the 4 questions in the abstract in sequence, one after the other. And it's that structure that gives the abstract its readability. The most important people who interact with academic articles are, of course, your readers. We don't write papers just to give them to our parents at Christmas. We don't write papers just to pin them on the office wall. We write papers so that people will engage with them, people will read them, and people will cite them. So structure is very important. You can see another example here. We will give you the slides. We will give you this presentation at the end so that you can have a look at some of these examples. We hope that they will be useful to you the next time you have to write an academic article in your own subject area for your own work. Indeed, please feel free to share this presentation with your colleagues, with your students, with other people that you work with, because we want to help people around the world be more effective at their writing and publishing. So, structure is the most crucial element. Readers need to know throughout the writing process, throughout the reading process, where they've come from, where they are now, and where they're going. A plot is needed. Your paper is a story. So the structure, you can get the structure by looking at target journals. You can understand what's required for a journal by picking your target journal before you begin the writing process. Many authors don't do that. They finish the research and then they think, write the paper, that's the next step. And then they think, where am I going to publish this work? And then they pick a target journal. We strongly encourage you to think about your message. What is the number one thing that comes out of your research that you want other people to gain from reading your paper? What's the takeaway? What's the take-home message? What's the new, important, fantastic thing about your research that other people need to learn about when they read your paper? Then you can target a journal, and then you can get information from your target journal about the structure of your article. So message, audience, your target journal, and structure. These are the three things to know about before you begin the writing process. Jumping into the rest of the article, then you're going to have an introduction to the main body text of your paper. Overall, your paper will probably be about 5,000 or 6,000 words in overall total length, because that's the average length of an academic paper published around the world in international journals, 5,000 or 6,000 words. So in your introduction, you've got about 1,500 words or so to sell the reason why somebody should read your article. So grab people's attention, bring them immediately to the crucial issue that your paper addresses. Keep it short. We don't want literature reviews. We don't want hundreds and hundreds of citations. We want a short, succinct, to the point introduction. 2 or 3 paragraphs is enough. Opening sentence takes you straight to the issue. Get the most important details of the issue into the introduction and end with a summary of the controversies and tell the reader what you're going to do in the paper. High impact factor articles published in journals like Nature and Science always finish with a phrase at the end of the introduction: here we show. In this paper, we show. So active rather than the passive voice in your English academic writing, please, because that makes it much easier for readers to gain the information that they need from your writing. Lots of people forget around the world when writing academic papers in English, they forget that by far the majority of their readers around the world will not be native English speakers. Most people who publish research, most people who do research, most people who read research around the world in English are not native English speakers. So keep it simple. Here's a template that you can use for your next introduction. Just 3 paragraphs. Start off by telling the reader what the question is. Then you tell the reader what the state of the art is in your field, what's recently been done, what's recently been studied, what's recently been looked at, relevant to your particular question. Most academic papers address a question after all. Most academic papers aim to fill a knowledge gap. We call it a question, a hypothesis, and then end your introduction. Here we show. This study shows. Set things up for the reader for the method section, which comes next and which can be easily written as a list of things that you did in sequence to carry out the work. Your method section should contain all of the methodological details necessary for another scientist, another academic to duplicate your work in sequence. Data collection followed by data analysis. 1, 2, 3, 4. What did you do first? What did you do second? What did you do third? What did you do last? In sequence, giving the reader enough information for them to repeat your work. It is important because it's extremely common for papers to get rejected because Authors don't put enough information into their methods for other people to understand what they did. Editors and reviewers often reject papers because they can't understand what was done. They feel that the method was thin on details. So be comprehensive. Show your method section to other colleagues. Make sure you've got enough information in there for somebody else to repeat the work. So be structured. Make a list beforehand. Get that timeline of sequences of events. That's why lots of method sections finish with analysis, statistical analysis. This builds then into your results section, where you present the results of your study, but you do not yet interpret them. Pictures are better than words to show what you did. You can always summarize your results with a figure rather than lots and lots of words. And this, by the way, is often the first section that authors write in their academic paper writing process, because they've done the work, they've done the experiments, they've collected the data, they make the figures, they make the tables, they show what the results are. So often the results section is the part of academic writing that's done first. Facts and nothing but the facts, ordered around the same sequence of events as in the method section. State clearly and simply what you did. Talk to your readers about what the outcomes are. Make sure you are clear and follow. If you like, lots of papers do this. You can do this too to make things easier for yourself. The same sequence of events as was already presented to the reader in the method section. That's why lots of papers have the same headings, even in the method section, repeated in the results section. A good trick to maintain your structure in academic writing. Finally, then, in the discussion, interpretation, you're free to explain what your results mean or why they may differ from what other workers have found. You relate your discussion immediately at the start back to the question that you raised in the introduction. Tell the reader at the beginning of the discussion what the answer is to the question that they have been sticking around to find out in your discussion. And don't forget to limit yourself to what your data can actually support. Lots of papers get rejected because editors and peer reviewers feel that too much is being done with the data. Too many interpretations are being made based on limited information. And don't forget also to suggest those future directions for more research. You want your strengths and weaknesses in the discussion so that reviewers can't point them out for you. Relate your study to what's already been found. Discuss what your study means. Raise any of those unanswered questions at the end. This is the structure, the effective structure of a full academic article. Following this structure and using some of the techniques and tips and tricks that we've presented here today will enable you to get your work published in fantastic journals, such as the ones published by our friends at Bentham Science. I show you just a few examples here. There's lots of chemistry, there's lots of biology, there's lots of medical sciences, there's journals, traditional and open access across all of those major areas. So have a look at eurekaselect.net if you'd like more information. Do not hesitate. Do not hesitate to get in touch with us. We are always ready to help. And by the way, if this presentation has been enjoyable, if you've learned something and you'd like more, then that's fantastic. We'd love to give you more presentations at any time of the day or night. 24 hours a day, get in touch with us. We provide free training for researchers, for academics, in order to help them be more effective in their writing and publishing. So get into the right mindset before you begin your next academic article. Prepare to write. What's your message? Who are your audience? What's your target journal? And what will the structure of the writing be? Prepare those things before you begin to write. Choose your topic, identify your audience, and gather supporting information. We provide roadmaps for successful publishing in high impact factor journals. We can help you to sell yourself and your research to editors around the world. We can help you develop a structure for your writing, and we can provide training in effective English academic writing for success, because there really are some simple rules that you can follow that make a huge difference. My name's Gareth. I've talked today about Bentham Science Publishers. I've talked about the basic structure of academic papers, writing for successful publication in leading international journals. Thank you very much for listening. The point of all of this is to help you be more effective as an academic. I am now ready to throw it open. If anyone has any questions, you can feel free to put them into the chat box down there on the right-hand side of our Webinar Jam platform. I will give you my email address here so that you can feel free to get in touch with me at any time. Provide your feedback. We will be happy to talk to you more about access to Bentham content. We will be happy to talk to you more about our training. We will be happy to talk to you more about our editing and other services. Thank you once again for listening. I will sign off in a moment if there are no follow-up questions. Thank you so much for your attention, and thank you so much for your time.